You are now about to enter and be plugged in with Uncut Live with Kenneth Clark. Uncut Live with Kenneth Clark. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? Welcome to another edition of Uncut Live with Kenneth Clark. We're Uncut Live. As we say, we keep it 100 on 1000. Our focus and concentration is on mind, body, soul, and spirit. Social issues. We talk about everything. And we keep it real right here on Uncut Live with Kenneth Clark. And so, y'all never know what might be coming at you. I have multiple people I like to bring, like to spaz it up a little bit. Bring different people from different backgrounds just to kind of blend the brand of Uncut Live with Kenneth Clark. As I always say, on Uncut Live, we will not be paused, muted, or edited. What you hear and what you see is what you get. And that's how the cards lay. So, today, we have a special guest today that I would like for her to introduce herself, and I'm gonna turn it on over to her. So we gonna get started.
Hi everybody. First of all, I'm just honored to be on this show with Kenny. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Loretta Brown. I am an author, a mentor. I am a consultant, counselor, a little bit of everything. And today I wanted to share with you about a book that I wrote. It's called Memoirs of the Dating Game. And it's about my experiences of dating, the challenges of dating with and having a purpose on my life. And it's a story transparent about everything or a few things that all of us go through when we're dating and we're living as a single life, and the challenging of dating and knowing your date and waiting on God for that right mate, because I didn't do that. So I would like to talk about that today.
Okay. And so, as I always, say, y'all, that piece coming there where we focus on mind, body, soul, and spirit, and part of that mind, body, soul, and spirit entails that love life, and part of that love life is including the aspect of dating. And so, um, why not allow somebody who has some experiences and has some expertise talk about this matter?
Thank you. I think that when you're dating, a couple of things that you should most definitely keep in mind. And one of them is your expectations versus what your deal breakers are. And once you have expectations and deal breakers, that especially the deal breakers, don't overwhelm yourself, but do not change that. For instance, what I'm saying is when you have expectations of people, like them having goals and plans for their life, like if they're working towards retirement, or they know that they want to start a business and things like that, that they know exactly that there's some ideas of what they want to do in life. And according to Steve Harvey, which I love, he has some excellent advice for those who are single and for those who are married. He has a great story. He wasn't perfect, but the thing is about expectations is not overwhelming yourself, because no one is perfect per se in a relationship. When you start dating, you're getting to know that person, and they may not always do the right thing. Now, the question is, what is your deal breaker? And if there's certain things that you just would not accept, like one, if you're an individual that don't like to share and don't want to be with someone who you know is cheating, that's a deal breaker. So don't compromise because that because you want to be in a relationship, because you truly want to be married. And so you're going to accept some things. And then eventually, after pursuing this person in a relationship, being in this relationship for so many months, and you have accepted these behaviors, and then now you have given all that time in this relationship, knowing good and well that you're unhappy because you accepted that behavior that you said that you wouldn't do. So you have to be careful. So if you have expectations of a person, just know that when you go into that relationship, that you're getting to know that person, that in the beginning it's going to be probably a honeymoon stage, but we'll get to this. Another thing is just asking the right questions. When you're in that dating stage, don't be in such a rush because, you just tired of being lonely. That's not an excuse. Take your time, get to know this person, get to ask them the right questions and everything. And then during the course of the dating, you most definitely in asking the right questions, that would be your deal breakers. That's one of the questions that you can ask them, is the deal breaker. So the deal breaker is, maybe not meeting their family. When you get into a relationship with someone, you most definitely want to meet their family, their parents, if their parents are alive, and the rest of their relatives, because the relatives and family will tell you a lot about a person, that's for sure. They're going to spill the beans. They're going to show you pictures and stuff, and then this give you an idea about who this person is and what type of relationship you're getting into. So if your expectation, your deal breaker is that they most definitely have to have a relationship with God, do not compromise that, because for me, I'm a spiritual person, and that's the number one thing that you have to have is God in your life, and love God, and have a great relationship with him. And I believe that is what help a relationship work. So those are the things that you just have to keep in mind. Expectations versus deal breakers, because wanting certain things, you want somebody that cooks, you want somebody that travels, you want someone that loves children, that love God, and not love children, but love children in a godly way. So those are all expectations that you have. So just making sure you know the difference between expectations and deal breakers. So that would be one of the first cues about when you're dating and getting to know that person.
Wow, that's some real sound advice. Knowing your expectations, and being realistic, and being open to flaws and all.
Yes, most definitely.
So we're talking about dating, right? And it's so funny because I was having this conversation with someone a few weeks ago, and I like the fact you say make sure that not only that you love God, but they have to love God too. Um, but we were talking about where we were just talking about dating and the concept of love. We often hear this in church,
Mm-hmm.
where we have individuals say, "Send me my Boaz." Right?
Right.
That's something that we constantly hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw a caveat in it. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I threw. I threw the caveat. I said, "Why can't it be God, send me the one that's best fit for me?"
And that's a great prayer.
Because
Right.
because the thing of it is that we don't necessarily want to get to a point where we're covenanting something that may be specifically designed for that entity. Because I
That's
believe
true.
that there are different uh, love languages
Mm-hmm.
for different folks.
Yep.
Not saying this in a negative way, but I
Excuse me.
believe that sometimes you can kind of judge a relationship, and you have that moderate relationship way,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the traditional relationship way. And not saying that there's not no truths in either one.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that, like you said, once you know what your expectations are, be realistic
Right.
about that endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
And don't necessarily, yes, you need a blueprint to model what a successful relationship is like.
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to take, the work and stuff that's behind it.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want the exact, replica
Mm-hmm.
of, because back, mom and dad,
That's a good topic
that's,
too.
things were different.
Don't look for mom or dad when you're looking for a mate, okay?
Yeah.
But you brought up some really good points. I'm sorry. Before I forget, but I was one of those individuals that was looking for a certain type of guy. I had certain expectations, and kind of started from being in my freshman year of college. They had to be buff, they had to look a certain kind of way and things like that. And that may not be exactly that man for you or woman for you when you start doing that. So Kenny brought out some great things. Number one is some people write a list of what you're looking for and you kind of have that. But I also want you to keep in mind, for those who have already wrote a list and said, this is what I want and this is what I'm looking for, that I did that, and what I had to learn is that I had to start asking God, is what is the right fit for me? And with that being said, is that by going into that type of attitude, is God, what is it that you have for me? What, and send me that husband that fits me, that will be what I need for me. I believe that that's the best way to do it, only because when you start dealing with that expectation and that list, that guy that you're looking for, that woman that you're looking for, may not have all those things that you're looking for. There may not have exactly everything, so the question is, will you be able to accept whether or not they look like what you're looking for, whether they be shaped like what you're looking for, because that ideal person may not be what you thought in your mind. But when you get to the point where you say, give me what fits me and what is for me, then be receptive to that person. And you may not truthfully be physically attracted to that person, but they may be the right person. I believe, now we're going to do real talk, I believe that spiritually, if you pray about it, God would change your dynamic of how you see that person. And how I know, because I've been in that situation. So I was in a relationship with a person and we were friends for a long time before we even started dating. And he came to me and said, I would love to just move this relationship to a whole nother level. I was not physically attracted to him like that. That was my boy. He was my best friend. And he mentioned to me that, look, I'm a good man. I think I'd be a great husband. And he said, I think we should try this, in this relationship and take it to another level. So I started praying about it. And I said, God, if this is for me, allow me to see the beauty, not only that is inside, on the outside. And to be honest with you, my prayer was answered. Now, some of you probably think this is crazy. She don't know what she's talking about, but it does happen. And the thing is, that individual may not, like I said, may not be exactly what your expectations are, but they are the right person for you. They are the right person for you. So we have to be ready. If you're asking God and you're praying and you're saying, Lord, send me that right mate, you got to be ready and ready to accept what he sends you.
Yeah, it really goes back to like you said, knowing what your expectations are, understanding what you're in pursuit of, and being realistic. I think a lot of relationships and stuff, sometimes we get wrapped up in them and not really being realistic.
True.
We have an ideal of what we want, but we're not being realistic. And I often think about um, a good homeboy of mine. He said that him and his wife, they've been married like about like 39 years.
Wow.
And he said that they didn't base their relationship on how they looked. What they did was they based their relationship on personality. They both had very very good personality. He was an accountant and the wife is a teacher. So it was like, hey, they, of course, it was that old fashioned, or what us millennials would say, that, that old type of love. I don't, something that I think that right there within itself is something that's missing in today's generation within the millennial realm, because when you're 90 years old or you're 100 years old, you're not, what I'm saying, some things, physique is going to change.
It is. But a lot of people are not going to agree with this, because I can hear them say, you got to have some type of physical attraction. Like, come on, give me a little something. And and that's true. I'm not saying that that example that I gave you, that I was not, didn't have no physical attraction to the person. I just didn't get little butterflies. Like, when you see somebody, be like, oh, dang. But I didn't get that. But was he a good man? Yes, he was. He was. So.
And I'm going to say this from my classmate, professor. She got married. She's been married about a year now. She's been married about a year, but she is 72 years of age.
Wow. Okay.
And she told myself, because I was like, well, she was like, and I was just like, okay, you just got married. I need some tips. I want to know what this dating game and what love is all. And she told me, she said, don't put your expectations on it, but ask God to put His expectations on it, because what you will see, what God has for you, is going to supplement what you have. She, and she said she was 72 years. I was surprised, like literally, I'm like, oh, and when she told me, I was like, oh my God, I know the Lord is real now, because I'm like, wow. And she said, don't put your expectations. She said, because if you put your expectations on it, you will get upset. She said, but ask God to give you what's for you. He knows what it is that what's the best fit for you.
Right. You want to learn about love, go to some of these old school couples, and they will tell you what made it work. And what to do, and because they have some awesome advice. I love talking to the older generation, the seasoned generation, about love and relationships and how to keep it together, because they have so many good cues. I believe that when you're dating, especially in the beginning, whether it's on the phone or seeing someone, whether it's for the first time, the second date, you want to ask the right questions. So some of the questions that you most definitely want to ask, a lot of people start off with how much money you're making and what you do for a living and things like that. And those are okay, but a lot of the main questions is maybe like, who has been the most influential person in your life? What is some, again, deal breakers? And by asking certain questions, you're getting to learn a little bit more about their personality. What is maybe some of their strengths and some of their weaknesses? How long have they been in relationships? And maybe what was the cause for that relationship not to work? Some will tell you and some of them won't, but at least you can ask those questions. How do you spend your downtime? So do you get to see, just from asking that question, that opens a whole broad of maybe some of their extracurricular activities, what they do in their spare time, whether or not or they are active in a community, or maybe they work a lot. So it's asking a lot of the questions that will help you kind of like get to know them a little bit more. Some of those questions is, once you go on the second date, if you get to the second date, then you can ask them what they do for a living. And I don't ask how much they make, but I will ask them like what they do for a living. And you most definitely want to ask them sometimes like if they have any children. One of the biggest things that I had to learn, and one of the main question that I asked is, are you married? I used to ask the question is, are you single? And I had a lot of individuals who say, yes, I am. But their definition of single, which I found out after being on the first date, was that means they're separated and that they were still married. So I think one of the most important things is asking, are you married? And if they say, no, I'm not, then you say, well, have you ever been, and are you divorced? For me personally, I'm not one to date married men. So I found myself by not asking that question on several dates with married men. So to break that continuous activity or the same, I guess you say vibe or whatever I was doing, I had to change that. And I had to start asking the right questions so that I could make sure that I was on a date who was single, who wasn't married, and wasn't separated. And so I talk about that in the book too, of some of my experiences of not asking the right questions. So now I ask the right questions. And the reason why I say now I ask the right questions is because I am still single. It didn't work out with the other guy, but nevertheless, so now that's what I do. So I think asking the right questions, being careful, because we were talking, and we just real talk, we were talking about just putting God in your relationship and God in what you do and seeking Him in your relationships. But if we have to be real, there's a lot of individuals who go to church, who say they have a relationship with God, but they really don't. And you have to be very careful. So by asking the right questions, being observant, listening, and seeing. Because most people in relationships or are married who have gotten divorced have always said, I didn't know they were like that. I didn't see that. But all those signs was always there. It's just that you just got caught up in the relationship in the honeymoon stage, and that person showed you who they were. But you didn't see it. I believe that when somebody show you who they are, believe it. So you have to ask the questions, be visual and vigilant, and watch their behavior, listen to what they're saying, because they will tell you who they are. And that's very important when you're dating, because you don't want to get to a certain point where you've been dating this person for 6 months and then you sitting and looking like, what did I just getting myself into? You know what I'm saying? And who is this person? That person was that person in the beginning. You just didn't want to see it because you was kind of caught up. And so just be kind of careful, take your time, don't be in a rush, and while you're single, enjoy some of this singleness, enjoy some of that time being lonely, because there's nothing wrong with it. Embrace it, take some time, you know what I mean? There's a lot of married people who wish they were single.
So how can people get access to this awesome advice, dating, and, can you let the audience, let our viewers know?
Sure. So this is the Memoirs of the Dating Game. And this book could be purchased on Amazon. It could be purchased on Barnes and Noble. You could go on the website and you can purchase it. Unfortunately, I don't have my website up yet. However, it is on Amazon and it is on Barnes and Noble and a few other websites that you can purchase this book. So thank you so much. It's called Memoirs of a Dating Game. Do we have time for a few more things?
Yes, we sure do.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, in the book, I have a section about real talk. And in real talk, I talk about biblically waiting on God, because unfortunately, I was one of those individuals that, I look a little different now, but I was in the cut. I was in the scene. I was going to all kinds of activities, community events, church events, whatever kind of events it was, dressed to impress. And while I was doing it, I would see a lot of men. And the first thing is, I wouldn't say that I was like touchy with them, but in my mental state, I was like, look at me, look at me. I was looking. And because I was looking, I kept finding myself sitting down, eating, breaking bread with the wrong men, whether they were married, whether there was some different things going on with them at the time, and he was not the right one. So in this section of Real Talk, it talks about waiting on God. And in waiting on God for that right person, that means sustaining from sex. Okay, so if we could be real, can we be real? Okay, so sustaining from sex, because once you have, and I know that this is probably going to change the whole thing. People, y'all going to get off this video, but once you done had intercourse and sex with that person, it changed the whole dynamic of how the relationship is. Now, men could tell you that sex doesn't mean anything, that they can have sex with multiple women, and truly, a lot of them are telling the truth. It didn't mean anything to them. Like, they really did love you, because sex is not like that for them at that time. For women, God made us emotional. So once we have sex with you, it changed our dynamic of how we feel about that individual before we really get to know them. Okay, and so that's why it's really best that you hold on. Now, according to Steve Harvey, his book, Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man, he said wait for 90 days. Well, he didn't tell you to do it. He encouraged you to wait for 90 days. He encouraged you to wait for 90 days because if you wait for 90 days, you got 90 days to really get to know that person before, you know what I mean, as you get to know them and you get to see the real person or whatever, and you wait for those 90 days. However, I have been in different workshops and seminars that talked about that book, and ladies and men waited for those 90 days, and after the 90 days, boom, he was gone, she was gone. Because they really wasn't into the relationship. They just waited for that 90 days to get what they're going to get. Okay? So technically, when someone really feeling you, when they really, really sent by God, if you're the person that's praying for your mate or whatever, that person is going to wait. They're going to wait till you're married and really wait to see what this is all about and really get to know you. Because unfortunately, women, once we have sex, we start missing those cues. We start missing those red flags that was already there because now we are emotionally attached, okay? And so I can't tell you what to do. All I can do is encourage you that if you really are looking for that person, make them wait because it is worth it. You are worth it. So don't be so willing to, just because, you know, they're giving you a hint, I know they look good and smell good, but don't be such in a rush to give it up. You know, wait, okay? Because you're gonna miss those red flags. You're gonna miss that negativity. You're gonna miss that intuition that you already have in your gut telling you that this is not the one. And then sometimes I have met people who have done it, and that was another thing that kind of push us to want to go ahead and have this sexual relationship with this person and take it to another level, because you have seen individuals who have done it. They got into these relationships and then they have became this, to be honest with you, have became a wife before you're a wife. But you have gotten into these relationships and you have started having these sexual encounters with this person, and it seemed like it worked for them. They wound up getting married. And I talked about that book, you know, so it seemed like at one point for those like myself who waiting on God, waiting for that right mate, that waiting, I'm still waiting. And the ones that was giving it up and the ones that have in relationships, sexual relationship with their partners, they're getting married and having children and all those things. But those are good things that come to wait. And so that in your season, there is a season. My season didn't come because I was not waiting on God. I was trying to find my own man. My own man. It didn't work out for me. So ladies, just go ahead and wait. You know, that's my encouragement to you. You want to add to that?
No, I'm just taking it in and just just taking it in and just going to take some notes and you know put this stuff into action so I can get to what's out there for me.
Yeah. There's so much to cover when you talk about dating and just dating period, but then it's another whole another level when you're dating on a spiritual realm. When God has put purpose in you and there's and let's break this down. Ministry in you and you know it because there is a plan and purpose for each and every one of us, and there are guidelines. If we talk about spiritual, there are guidelines of how God wants us to live. And when you start breaking those guidelines and those directions that God wants you to live, then you break in that whole relationship. You know what I'm saying? You start making decisions for yourself, and God wants to make the decisions for you. Another big thing is blending families. I was talking to a gentleman and this is probably in my next book, but blending families together is very, very important. And I know a lot of women and men are very sensitive and very apprehensive about sharing their children with that new mate. And so as you're getting ready, as you're entering into a new relationship with that person, male or woman, that you have these children, and now after having a couple of dates, you're really feeling this person, and you questioning whether or not I should introduce my new mate, my new boo, to my children and stuff like that. So it's very important. You have to make the decision when is the best time for you, but it's very important that your children do meet your mate. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Not all children going to like your mate. That's true. I love the story about Steve Harvey, and I know I keep bringing him up, but he does bring out some great points, and that's why I'm bringing him up. So he was bringing up the point where him and his new wife, Margie, they started dating, and now they're talking about marriage. So they brought the family together. He have all these children. She have all these children, right? Well, she only had 2, but he got all those kids. So they bring the family together and all the children together, and they make an announcement, that they get married. Then they send the children off, and they have their own little gathering, and they talk, and they get to blend together and have a great time. Well, they had an awesome time. But when they came back to Margie and Steve, they said, look, we had a conversation, and we think y'all shouldn't get married. And I'm not going to tell you what Steve Harvey said, but Steve Harvey cussed. So he had a few choice words for the kids, and they made a decision. Him and Margie made a decision that they're going to get married anyway, that was the best for them, and that was the best decision that they made. And years later, he's in love with her, she's in love with them, the family and the children are all together, and they love the idea because Margie has been one of the best things that has happened to them at this moment from listening to the children, who are now pretty much all adults. So for him, that was the best decision that he made. So you have to be careful that sometimes the children are not always going to agree with something that is really good. And so with that being said, in time, the children will blend. Now, I know another story that I'm not going to hold you, but there's another story about a woman and a man that were dating, and they really they really blended very well. They loved each other or whatever, and they got married. And unfortunately, during the dating process, before they got married, they did not discuss how they were going to discipline the children, how they were going to raise the children. So when the new husband, decided that, look, let me have a conversation with the wife's children, or to discipline the children, the wife pushed him back. It was like, no, these are not your children. So then consistently doing that, and then the children got used to saying that broke their marriage apart. 2 individuals that truly love each other, that felt that it was God sent, were broken apart because they did not discuss properly of how they were going to manage the children, how they were going to raise the children, how they were going to discipline the children. And to me, what God put together, let no man put asunder. So if you believe God put you together and you're in that marriage, these are things that you need to talk about. These are the things you need to talk about, whether or not you want to have children, or whether or not how you're going to blend the children that you already have together. Those are very important talk pieces that you want to have before you even step to I do. And even after that, and then having your children respect each other. Because for me, I do have a son, and he's grown though. But when God blessed me to be married, if I ever get married, that my son would not embrace my husband in a way like, you're not my father, but that they would have this type of relationship of respect that you like, yo man, you like a dad to me. That's how I want it. You know what I'm saying? And his children would not be like, that's my stepchildren. No, that's my daughter and that's my son. I take out the step because now I am married to this person. So this is how I look at those blended relationships, that you're no longer my stepdaughter or my son. You are my son and this is my daughter and this is how I'm going to treat you. But at the end of the day, this is a decision that you have to make, but this is just one of these encouraging words when we talk about blended families. So.
Wow, I think, and to add on to what you just said, I think also understanding that relationships are covenants. And when you look at relationships, you look at it from the fact that it's a covenant, and a covenant is something that's honored by God, and it's something that is ordained and is the foundation of the implementation of what God has put into place.
Amen. If I can end this, I just want to encourage everyone, just take your time, get to know the person when you're dating, because dating for a lot of people, including myself, was very challenging, of sharing some of my personal, stuff and answering these questions all over again to different persons and sitting down and breaking bread. And, sometimes it get a little tiresome. You just want that right person just to, boom, come on and be right there with you and have a great time. Look and see the signs, I would say. If someone show you who they are, believe it. Don't try to make excuses. That is really what you see, and that is really the person. What I learned in relationships is don't try to change the person. Ladies, you can't do that for the man. You think you get into a relationship and you think your goal is to change that guy to be who you want him to be. No, ma'am. It's not going to work. Every brother, every man in the world would tell you that is not what your job is. They are who they are. Now, once you have a conversation with them, and just like Kenny had brought up about the love languages, that is very important to know. There are 5 of them. And there are some individuals, which I learned, that have all 5 of the love languages. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages. It's beautiful. It's for marriages. They have it for the singles. They have it. Yes. So they even have 5 love languages for the children. It is a book. And it's an awesome book, and a lot of people don't know that there are love languages, but they are, and that is very important, and that's how you really get to know that person while you're dating, is what are their love languages, and that really, really helps to know when you're in a relationship. So don't try to change them. Once the men and women learn their love languages, then it's up for us to change, because I know in this relationship, I know what he likes and he knows what I like, and what things that will irritate me, that that they'll say, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. And the things that I know that will irritate my mate, I will work on those things to not do it again. And so when you really love somebody and you really care for that person, then that's when you want to make that change and say, I'm hurting this person and I know I don't want to do that again. So you have to, that's another thing, is learn that love language, get that book, because that is an awesome book. And in your relationship, enjoy each other, have fun, stop fearing. A lot of you are stuck in your past relationships. Don't be stuck. Don't be stuck. You get stuck in that relationship because you got hurt, because you got disappointed, you felt betrayal and stuff like that. That person that you're trying to be in a relationship right now is not that person from back in the day. That is not your old boyfriend. That's not your old husband. That's not your old wife or your old girlfriend. This is a new person, and they deserve a chance. They deserve to have your attention, your love, and step in there without the fear that you're going to go through the same thing again, or that all men or all women are the same, because they're not. Okay, and they're not your mother and they're not your father. Okay, so embrace it. Don't be so serious about everything. Have fun with it and just enjoy and laugh more. And another last thing is, don't forget God. Don't forget God. A lot of relationships at work are because they pray together. They put God into their relationship, and they have no problem with that. And so if I could end with that would be it. And just, I encourage you, everything that we talked about today is in the book and some more. I have about 7 examples of my dates, and you will see why they were so challenging and why they did not work for me. Real quick, one gentleman, I asked him what was his 5-year goal, because we had been friends for almost 30 years, and finally he was like, I want to, I would love, to be in a relationship with you. And I actually liked the idea. So on the phone, I decided to say, well, you know what? While we're on the phone and everything, if we're going to take this to another level, what are some of your goals? What is something, some of the things that you see yourself doing within the 5 years? And he couldn't give it to me. He told me that he was waiting, that he is one of those individuals that are day-to-day people. Now, it may work for some people, but that unfortunately it didn't work for me, because in my mind, and maybe you might disagree, that I felt like at least he could have said, working on a relationship with you. And that would just blew me right there. But he didn't say that. So because he didn't have a goal, and at my age, I'm ready for retirement. And I'm ready to have passive income coming in. I'm ready for the residual income. I'm ready for, to continue with my purpose and the plan that God has for me. And so if you ask me, what is my 5-year goal? I'm going to add some of those things that I just said. You have to have something that you're working towards and everything. And even if it's, like I said, even if it's you continuing on your job, especially with the COVID-19 and not being part of this COVID-19 sickness or whatever the case may be, you have something that you have in mind that you're working towards, So I just want to keep that in mind. My book is called Memoirs of the Dating Game.
And it's been, the publisher, the author is Loretta Brown.
Loretta Brown.
Go to Barnes and Noble.
Or Amazon.
Or
you can just Google it. Just Google it, Loretta Brown, or Loretta, the last name Brown, like the color of the crown. And again, Memoirs of the Dating Game. Thank you so much for listening, and I know you will enjoy the book. It's funny. I put a lot of stuff in there. I'm very transparent. I'm very real. So I tell you exactly everything that I'm feeling and my truly challenges that I had in my life and with dating. And I can't wait to put out my next book. So thank you so much.
All right, y'all. Before I close out, I want to shout out the other co-host, Miss Stubbs, my man from Bars on Air, Farrell Williams. Hold it to my head, not my heart. If I mispronounce, these names, but I want to also shout out to the FTP movement, for the people movement, for the people movement. We have the shirts right here. Please go out to Facebook, FTP, for the movement, for the people, by the people. We are straight for the people, the community. We are not backed by no political party. We're not backed by any type of religion. Matter of fact, our motto is Chase God, Not Religion. That is also our other brand of shirt that we have. So go to Facebook, FTP for the People Movement, IG for the People Movement. Continue to follow me on Instagram. Change Agent Now Forever. Y'all stay tuned because the next show that's going to be coming up on Uncut Live with Kenneth Clark, we are going to go all the way in, straight like that. We're going in. We coming in there like a volcano. Bang, 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 bang. We coming in. So y'all continue to stay plugged in. It's your boy, Kenneth Clark. You just now been plugged in with Uncut Live. Peace.
Peace.